I'd be really interested to get your feedback on this. Yesterday, oh, my troubles seem so far away. Yesterday I put a meme up showing Jacinda Ardern getting her damehood from Prince William. Now, to give you some background on this, Jacinda Ardern was the Premier of New Zealand, and she was hardcore during lockdown. She was dreadful with her own people, incarcerating them for testing positive, internment camps, threat of a two-tier society, and then all of a sudden, when we have cancer oncologists trying to talk to their politicians about sudden cancers, etc., etc., she's away from office and is now Prince William's sidekick in his Earthshot project, which is really more bollocks for us to swallow while they get on living this exclusive lifestyle, while they fly around the globe when they want, how they want, and yet we're having paper mile travel introduced in this country, in the London area. So I put this meme up showing him putting the sash or whatever it is he puts on it for getting a damehood, and it had a little bubble on it. And it was a jokey meme that said, "Thank you for your services to medical tyranny." And I put as a lead into it that I felt sorry. I felt sad. That's the word I used. I felt sad for those who still support the royal family because they're very much part of the problem. It was an inoffensive comment, and I mean it. I feel sorry for people. And the reason I said that is because I feel their trust in this family and what it's supposed to represent for this country has been betrayed. Allegedly, if you've got a monarchy-held country, it saves you from a dictatorship. But when we know that Tony Blair's never really left the bowels of power, his institute was proud to announce that they were embedded in governments across the world to introduce restrictions. That shows you just how powerful Tony Blair has been in and out of office. When he was in office, he changed the civil service to put his own men there. It was a shrewd move, because that means moving forward, no matter which government gains office, the people running the show, and there's about 1,000 of them that are pretty high up, are Blairites. So when you consider this monarchy is supposed to save us from stuff like that, I'm not sure it's been doing its job properly. Now, I supported the Queen. When I say supported the Queen, I thought she handled herself in a dignified fashion. I've never been anywhere that a royal would turn up. I'm not that interested. But I do kind of understand that we have had the same figurehead for many, many years who doesn't seem to have publicly let us down, unlike our offsprings. When someone turns around and says he wants to be someone's tampon and the phone calls are leaked, that's your king now. And you look at Prince Randy Andy, and what the hell's happened to Harry, who's gone batshit crazy to me. He's now just a failing celebrity. So they've a lot to answer for, because the brand, the 1,200-year-old brand, must be protected at all costs. And as we know, we've seen the King, during his time as Prince of Wales, go to many, many meetings where the WEF agenda is discussed, and his attitude towards climate change is very apparent. We know exactly where he stands on that one. And obviously, I'll believe he's a man of the people when he turns Highgrove into allotments for the poor. How about that one, eh? Anyway, yesterday it caused a bit of a stir on Facebook. I put this meme up. I said what I said. I feel sad for them. Most people were supportive, but the reason I'm discussing this today is after I've just laid out that Tony Blair, whilst he left office, he never left power, because power is having influence. And if you've got influence without being centre stage, you can get on with a lot more. You can get on with a lot more travelling about and talking to people like Klaus Schwab and other influencers that are in a similarly powerful position. So Tony Blair, to me, has never left being in some sort of control. And we all know what he did with the Iraq War and his stance on the rollout. We know all that. But what amazed me was that some people were still saying on the thread, we're safer with a monarchy. It saves, being at the behest of a dictator. But I look at our politics, and this is where I think the whole lot needs reform. The royal family needs reform. The first past the post needs reform, because we have ended up with a man who has immense power, Keir Starmer, who has managed to sit himself there simply because 20% of the population voted him in. 20%. He's lost 10% of that 20 now since his first few weeks in office, when he's put restrictions on people like the winter fuel allowance. So where I see we need reform, I think if this monarchy is supposed to offer us these democratic benefits, how come he's never stood up? The king has never stood up to anything that's been thrust upon us, even when he was a prince. How come he seems to be outspoken about the wrong topics? In my view, he's very vocal about green energy, and he's making a lot of money from green energy. A £45 million pay rise is quite a lot of money, and the royalists will say that that's coming out of the private purse. I understand that, but how fortunate are you to own the seabed that rents it out to wind farms that get government subsidies to begin building them in the first place, let alone running them? So the taxpayer funds the lot, don't they, really? I'm happy to stand corrected, but I see the taxpayer funding this lot. So I'm disappointed in what the royal family have had to offer me during my lifetime. I think the pomp and circumstances and the processions and the things that we do that attract tourism are fabulous. I don't disagree at all. And I didn't particularly question the Queen's stance because she kept neutral. But this man is very, very vocal, and he's not saying anything that I like. He's siding with people I'm afraid of, and that's what worries me. And then people come out and say that I'm left-wing because only left-wing people pick faults in the royals. No, you've missed the point completely. This is picking fault in what they support. And they could have an influence to the contrary, which they don't. They go down the route that we're afraid of. So yesterday I got a few loyal royalists saying that, you know, one was a former serviceman, I think, or a woman, who said they signed up to defend, you know, Queen and country when they signed up, and that doesn't diminish with their retirement. Well, that's fine, which is why I said I feel sad. Because it's sad to see people like that with such commitment and sincerity completely abused by the system that I see our royal family using to safeguard their brand. It's a 1,200-year-old brand now that's dying with all the infractions that the family themselves have caused. I mean, Charlie with Camilla and the tampon statement, and then we know he was seeing Camilla through his marriage. It's not a good look for a man who's supposed to be holding up British integrity. And then we've got Prince Andrew, who was probably the better looking of all the royals. I'm not so sure where he stands with Epstein. Clearly a friend, clearly a confidant, and clearly something that shouldn't be in the royal family, because you're supposed to be better than us. You're living better than us. You've got more wealth than us. You should be showing us how to live. You should be impeachable, or unimpeachable, shall I say. You shouldn't have any closets, skeletons in your closet. That's how I see it. You're setting yourself up to live a life off the back of the taxpayer. And as such, we have the right to demand respect. We don't get it. That's my viewpoint. You may disagree. So after the meme, it got 600 comments. It's reached 37,000 people, which on Facebook's a lot. And still there were some defending the royals. Prince William chose Jacinda Ardern for her role as his sidekick in Earthshot, which I don't even know what it does, but it's something to do with climate change restrictions and promoting things that will infringe on how we live. And I'm not sure how it works. The thing I question is his choice, choosing Jacinda. Not only has he chosen Jacinda, now we're told that it's the government that hands out the awards, but I'm told by other people that the royal family can refuse on principle if they disagree with something. So he clearly doesn't disagree with Jacinda getting a damehood. She's from New Zealand. She ruled with a tyrannical fist, and now she's been awarded a Dame of the British Empire. And I find that deeply saddening. And I'm not insulting anyone here. I just see what I saw during lockdown, unforgivable behaviour, akin to fascism rather than democracy. And what we've got to remember is if this kind of thing happens again, people like her will rule with an iron fist. They're already trying to pass a bill in Northern Ireland to be able to forcibly vaccinate people who refuse. By force. That means restraints. That means strapping you down. That means sedating you to have something put in your body that you are sceptical of. That is not democracy. And these people would back that. Now, personally, I don't get overexcited either way about the royal family, but I found the need to explain myself to this crowd on Facebook that can't seem to see that, unfortunately, we have been already let down. We seem to have the monarchy and tyranny all at the same time. Because how can someone with only 20% confidence from the nation go ahead? This is a Brexiteer nation who voted for voted for Cameron because he offered a referendum, and the only reason he got sole power and he wasn't in another coalition is because he offered a referendum. It's clear what the country wanted. The left have always been more politically active than us. We're docile. But we came out 17.4 million and voted for Brexit. Then the establishment dragged its feet for 2 years and managed to take Brexit to the wire, where we only had nearly 3 months out of the European Union before we got locked down. And still they managed to blame Brexit for all the deficits that we now suffer from government overspending on ridiculous things like the passport system, Duff PPE, and not to mention the highly profitable drugs that we used. So I see us as having tyranny thrust upon us and nobody stood up for it. I have my suspicions. This is just an observation. How many times have you seen 2 high-profile royals with sudden cancer? We have the King with his prostate cancer and Kate with her female cancer, I'll call it. I find that odd in such a short space of time, especially during this interval of time, if you know what I'm saying. So I don't think this placebo thing ever existed. I think there are some that are quite high up that could be possibly victims of what went on. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm trying to be careful with my vocabulary here. But I was really surprised to see that people haven't realised the very thing that's supposed to safeguard us from tyranny hasn't worked, because the tyranny is here. And that's why I think the whole system needs changing. The royal family and the way we vote. That's why direct democracy is so important. Because direct democracy, like they use in Switzerland, a similar process, means that whichever party's in power cannot become tyrannical, because the big stuff, HS2, vaccine mandates, lockdowns, what the government spend their money on, public buildings, that would come back to the people. But it can only work with an honest media. And if we'd had an honest media, we'd have a different landscape now. But they are dishonest, in my view. They're owned by the same 6 companies right across the West. And unfortunately, we are victims of the media rather than benefactors of it. That's my view, anyway. So I wrote this as a post about 2 hours ago to explain to those who seem to have took the hump and seem to be under the illusion that because of the royal family we're safer. We're not safer. We are not safer because of the royal family. I see the royal family as part of the problems we're suffering from, because no one's listening. That King Charles listens and goes to and advocates the World Economic Forum agenda, as does Prince William. And that's why I find this award so abhorrent after how we saw. And you've got a cancer specialist in Professor Angus Dalgleish pleading with the New Zealand and Australian governments about stopping the thing in your arm. He's out there campaigning now, or he's campaigning to that audience. And she's here getting this award that should be for thoroughly decent people who put people first, not agendas. So I wrote this. Tell me what you think. The post yesterday showing Prince William giving Jacinda Ardern her dame ode explained. I see the logic in supporting a monarchy. It's supposed to be better than a dictatorship. You seem to have missed the point. Our country has managed to end up with both. We do have a dictatorship, and the figurehead of our parliament, the king, is so interwoven with the WEF agenda that he endorses all that it stands for, which the end result is transforming our democracy into a two-tier society where all our rights diminish and the elites live as they please. After 9 years of providing daily updates, as I have, on where we stand with no personal financial gain for me, my post was simply to say I felt sad for you supporting the royal family, which I do. Ardern locked her own people down, quarantined anyone who tested positive, openly threatened her people and penalised those that didn't join in the rollout. Next time, and there will be a next time, people like her would use restraints and force. They're trying to pass such a bill in Northern Ireland right now. The long list of very serious adverse reactions has not changed their resolve. To see her leave her post in New Zealand and then get the plum job of William's right hand in the Earthshot programme was sickening enough. But to be given such an honour as a damehood is actually an insult to God and mankind, in my opinion. Many of you will have dutifully rolled your sleeve up, and many of you will now face a very uncertain future and the possibility of things happening to your health prematurely. So many bothered to comment on my flimsy post of these two people. That's the meme with him giving her the award. Yet Professor Angus Dalgleish, who was actually addressing the politicians in Australia and New Zealand because of the high rate of aggressive and sudden cancers, you ignored. Experienced by the dutiful people who were terrified into thinking they needed this new style of medical intervention. Charles himself makes many political statements. He is supposed to be neutral. The royals were also used to promote the intervention, the medical intervention. You defend these pompous, privileged characters, you defend their office, but they have done nothing for the people in this last 3 years to defend you. We watched 40,000 care workers get sacked for their reluctance to join in what was a global experiment. Sacked, but still alive and well. Proof that these sackings should never have happened. We have malnutrition in care homes because of staff shortages. That's far more worthy of support than these fools who traverse the globe in luxury, as we are now faced with paid-for-mile taxes to encourage us to travel less. You struggle to get a doctor's appointment, but the surgeries are still pushing this useless and dangerous formula and asking you to join in. So, as I say, I feel sorry for you, simply because I feel your loyalty deserves so much better than a weak, like father-like-son prince who is callous enough to award Jacinda with such an honour. Some of you say I will lose support for my stance. I'd like to point out that 9 years of blogging and trying to keep you informed is nothing of the sort. It's me supporting you. So, thankfully, that's had immense response. It's had 500 comments in 2 hours and it's been seen, let's have a look at the insight, 22,000 people. So that's pretty good. And it shows that more people think like me than don't. And I just think that we've been let down on so many levels, in so many ways, by so many people that we had our trust in, that we just deserve better than this. And we're past the stage now, I believe, where we can claim that having this monarchy has kept us safe. It hasn't. It hasn't kept us safe. You say that it would be worse. People say, well, if we didn't have him, we'd have, President Tony Blair. It's irrelevant because you look at the figureheads. These are only figureheads. Your Prime Minister is a figurehead. There's a big machine behind him. And that machine isn't Great Britain. It's not the people. The workings of the legislator is the civil service. But where's the instruction coming from? Because he's not capable of thinking these things up himself. And everything he's doing seems to fit a wider agenda, a global agenda. And that makes me feel uncomfortable. I have a right to feel uncomfortable. You have a right to feel uncomfortable. We don't have to put up with this. It doesn't have to be either or. Oh, we keep the monarchy or we get a dictatorship. No, we reform the law. We reform the monarchy and we reform the way we vote people into power. And we make sure that they're not adhering to an agenda that the people didn't vote for. And the only way I can see to do that is direct democracy, is by using a Swiss-style system where the big stuff gets put back to the people. And really, with the last election, if only 20% of the people turn out to vote you into power, and a new party that's only been basically able to stand for a seat gets second place in 97 seats, then there needs to be some sort of reform with that. And even if it's a recount, even if it's run the election again, because quite clearly I think a lot of people in those seats that voted for reform where they came second, I think if more people saw how close they were to winning, I think we'd have a different landscape. So I think the whole lot needs reform, and I'm open to ideas on how you would do it. All I can think of is a direct democracy style parliament where the worry of which party comes into power is diffused by the fact the big stuff comes back to us. And again, I'll say again, it can only work with an honest media. And that's the bit. They're the dangerous people. The media's the dangerous one because they're the ones that are able to get into people's homes. I'm invited into your home because you switch me on, you follow me on Twitter, Facebook or YouTube. But the media is all powerful because you just turn on your telly and it hits all those people that don't take any notice of podcasts and social media. And that's why you're very important. You, the audience, you are important because every time you speak about this in small, palatable sound bites where people you're talking to can understand you, not too heavy, stick to one issue, you're making a world of difference. You've only to look at how many people respond these days to say 2 years ago where the nation lived in fear because the government put it there. There was never ever anything to be that afraid of. The government put that there because they had communist advisors. A conservative government had communist advisors on how to nudge, it's called a nudge unit, how to nudge the nation into getting them to do something they don't want to do. This should never be allowed to happen to us again. So please, feedback on this one. This doesn't put me off enjoying my life at all. And I still feel saddened by these people that blindly support this royal family and make excuses for them. For me, those days are over. It ended with the death of the Queen. Any support, flimsy support, what do? I don't spend anything with him. I don't talk about him. I don't phone over Kate Middleton the way she dresses. I'm not really interested in any of them at all or what they have to offer. It's finished to me as a brand. And that's it. For me. It doesn't have to be for you.